Ben was not famous. He was not a leader, not a soldier, and not someone people noticed when he walked past. He worked in a quiet lab on a forgotten space station called Outpost Theta, which floated near a dead planet with no name. The planet had no life, no water, and no air. It was cold, lifeless, and unimportant, just like the lab where Ben spent most of his time. Outpost Theta was owned by the Terran Research Council, a small branch of the human government. Most of its workers had already left to join better-funded projects closer to Earth or Mars. Only a few scientists remained. Ben was one of them. He liked the silence. He liked the empty halls and the old machines. There were no distractions. Only data, numbers, and problems waiting to be solved. Ben's focus was a strange field of study, theoretical propulsion models. Most people thought his work was a waste of time. Even other humans said the same. The Galactic Science Guild had already decided what was possible and what was not. They had hundreds of alien species working on advanced engines for travel between stars. Humans had joined the guild only a few decades ago. Compared to the others, humanity was still new and behind. Ben knew this. Still, he kept working. His project was based on an old idea of folding space to travel faster than light. It was called the slit burst theory, something even the Velari, the most advanced species in the galaxy, had abandoned long ago. They said it was impossible to stabilize the energy. It always exploded or collapsed. Every test had failed. Every time. Ben didn't agree. He thought the others had given up too early. He believed the math had small errors, patterns that didn't line up because of one missing factor. So he worked day and night, drinking cold coffee and checking his code over and over again. Then, one quiet morning, it happened. He adjusted one equation, just a single number in the program, and pressed the button. The energy in the test chamber began to rise. The sensors started to flicker, normally. At this point, the field would collapse, but this time it didn't. The field stabilized. Ben froze. The room became silent, except for the low hum of the machine. On his screen, the graphs were holding steady. The numbers were perfect. He leaned closer and tapped a few keys. The simulation kept running. Time passed 10 seconds. 20, then a full minute. It worked. He didn't shout. He didn't jump. He just sat back in his chair and stared at the screen. His hands were shaking. He had created something new, not just for humans, but for the entire galaxy. A working slit burst field, a drive that could fold space without ripping it apart. Ben checked everything twice, then 3 times. Then he saved the data and sent a report to the main science council on Earth. He explained the field, the formula, the results, and what it meant. He marked the report as high priority, but he knew what would happen. They wouldn't believe him. So he went further. He built a small drone, just 1 meter long, and installed a mini version of the slit burst device inside it. It took 2 weeks to complete. Every wire, every bolt, every part had to be perfect. If even one thing went wrong, the drone could vanish or explode. When it was ready, Ben placed the drone inside the launch chamber. He locked the controls, double-checked the coordinates, and powered the system. His target was Earth's orbit. The countdown started. 3 to 1. A flash of light filled the chamber. Then the drone was gone. No trail. No sound. The sensors showed. No explosion. Just a clean, instant disappearance. Ben ran to the comms console and opened a secure line to Earth's satellite network. At first, there was nothing. Then a reply came. The drone was there, floating above Earth. It had arrived in less than a second. Ben sat down and stared at the data. Distance didn't matter. Time didn't matter. The slit burst drive had worked in real space. It had crossed over 30 light minutes in the blink of an eye. This was no longer theory. It was real. He sent the new report with video proof and full system logs. This time, the council replied. Fast, they ordered him to stop all tests. They told him to wait for inspection. They said they needed time to review everything. Ben felt uneasy. He knew the drive was important. He also knew that others were watching. The Velari Union controlled the Galactic Guild. They kept strict rules on what tech could be used, especially by younger species. If they found out, they might not allow humans to keep it. But it was too late. The signal had gone out. Others had. Notice the energy burst. 3 days later, a Velari cruiser entered orbit near the station. A large ship, dark and silent, with glowing blue lights and sharp silver wings. The station trembled as it docked. Ben stood in the hallway with the rest of the station crew. A group of Velari officers stepped out, tall, cold-looking, with smooth scales and dark eyes. Their leader was called Krell, a military observer. Krell walked straight to Ben. "Your experiment is over," he said. Ben didn't argue. Krell and his team went through the lab, took the drone logs, the drive prototype, and all of Ben's notes. They said it was for safety, that humans had touched something too dangerous. They promised to return the files after review, but Ben had expected this. Before the crews arrived, he had sent a secret copy of the drive data to a friend on Mars. Her name was Ella, a systems architect with a sharp mind and quiet strength. She believed in him. She trusted him, and now she had the key. The Velari left the station without saying more. Ben returned to his room. He looked out the window at the empty stars. They thought it was over. They thought they had stopped him. But Ben knew the truth. Something had changed, and the galaxy would never be the same again. Mars had always been known for its dust storms, red deserts, and quiet skies. But under its surface, in a hidden lab built deep into the rock, something powerful was taking shape. Ella stood over a metal frame the size of a truck, her hand steady as she tightened the last bolts. Her team watched in silence. They were building the second slip burst drive. Ella was not famous either. Like Ben, she was calm, serious, and often quiet in meetings. But her mind was fast. She could see errors others missed. When Ben sent her the secret files from Outpost Theta, she understood them faster than anyone else would have. She had trusted Ben for years, and now she held the most important design in human history. The team working with her came from different places. Some were engineers. Others were programmers or physicists. None of them had worked together before. But now they were all focused on one goal: finish the ship, test the drive, prove to the galaxy that humans were ready. The ship they were building was small. It was not a warship or a deep space cruiser. It had no weapons, just the drive, a basic cockpit, and enough shields to survive one jump. Ella called it Pathfinder 1. When it was ready, she stepped inside. Her second in command, a nervous young pilot named Ray, sat beside her. They strapped in, ran the checks, and started the power cycle. No one spoke during the countdown. The target was a forbidden zone, near a Velari outpost. It was an area no human ship had ever entered. If they made it there and returned, the whole galaxy would know what had happened. That was the point. 5, 4, 3, 2 jump began. There was no flash, no sound, just a shift. 1 second they were over Mars. The next, they were floating in deep space, surrounded by silence. A giant Velari station hung in front of them. Ray stared at it, his mouth open. "We made it," Ella said, before alarms could go off. She triggered the return jump. The ship vanished and reappeared back over Mars. The entire trip had taken less than 10 seconds. The lab exploded with noise. People shouted, hugged, and cried. They had done it, not just once, but twice, to perfect jumps. No errors, no failures. Ella sent the proof to trusted human officials across Earth, Luna, and Titan. They shared it with others. Videos of the jumps spread across the secure channels of scientists and shipbuilders. The news didn't stay secret for long. Within a week, other human labs began building their own versions. Small ships began testing silent jumps in the dark, parts of the solar system. What Ben had started was spreading fast to stop. But not everyone was happy. The Velari Union was watching. Their leaders met in private chambers, speaking in low voices. They feared chaos. For hundreds of years, they had been the guardians of advanced technology. They decided which species were ready for what level of knowledge. If humans could jump through space freely, others would try. Some would fail. Others might succeed. The balance would be broken. The Villari commander, Krell, returned to Earth orbit with a message. A fleet of Villari ships surrounded the planet. They did not fire. They simply waited. A broadcast was sent to all Terran stations. It was short. Human development of slip burst technology is to stop at once. All research will be reviewed by the Union. No further jumps are allowed without approval. The message was cold. No discussion. No vote. Just control. On Earth, leaders from different human nations met in a secret location. Some wanted to obey. Others wanted to resist. But the people had already seen the truth. The videos were everywhere. Students, workers, pilots. Even children had watched the jump and cheered. Ben, still on Outpost Theta, received a message from an unknown sender. It was simple. Thank you. Your breakthrough gave us hope. More messages followed. Some were from small planets under Villari control. Others were from distant species who had lived under Union rules for years. They all said the same thing. They were watching. They were waiting. On Mars, Ella received a visitor. He was not human. He was short, with blue skin and glowing eyes. His name was Thalos, a scientist from a quiet species called the Scifi. The Scifi had once tried to build their own jump system, but were stopped by the Union. I came to help, Thalos said. Ella looked at him for a long time. Then she handed him a data tablet. Welcome to the team, she said. Something new was growing. It was more than just a human project now. It was a movement. Scientists, engineers, and thinkers from across the galaxy were reaching out. They wanted to join. They wanted to learn. They wanted freedom. But the Villari were preparing too. A spy ship entered orbit over Titan. It sent a signal that jammed the lab communications. Drones flew close to the jump ships, scanning them without permission. One drone fired a warning shot. Near a testing vessel. The message was clear. Stop or face consequences. Ben watched the reports from his lab. He felt the pressure rising. Still, he kept working. He was building something new, something stronger. If the Villari came for them, they would not stop with words. He opened a private channel to Ella. They're going to act soon, he said. I know, she replied. Then we need to be ready. I already am. Ella said. Far across the stars, on a mining world called Dranar, a group of alien workers hijacked the Villari ship and escaped using stolen human jump tech. They sent a message before disappearing. We are not your tools. We will not stay silent. That message was heard on 1,000 worlds. The Villari had tried to block one human breakthrough, but it had spread. It had reached minds and hearts that had waited too long for change. The jump was not just a machine. It was a symbol. Ben had only wanted to solve a puzzle. Now that puzzle had become a spark, and the fire was just beginning. The Villari cruiser returned to Outpost Theta just after sunrise. Its massive shadow darkened the sky above the station. From his small room, Ben saw the ship arrive through the glass window. He stood still, his hands resting on the edge of his desk. He knew this day would come. The Villari had not forgotten what he had built. The jump drive was more than a tool. It was power. And the ones who held power in the galaxy did not like to share it. Doors hissed open as a squad of Villari guards entered the station. They moved without speaking, their armor silent and smooth. Krell walked to the front. He looked calm, but there was no kindness in his eyes. Ben met him near the lab. You are under observation, Krell said. All further research is suspended. The station is now under Villari protection. Ben nodded but said nothing. The guards moved quickly. They entered the lab, disconnected machines, and pulled out the main storage drives. One of them held the prototype jump core. Another took all the research files from the last 6 months. You will not operate any equipment until further notice, Krell said. Ben watched as the heart of his work was taken away. Years of effort, hours of testing, all loaded into metal crates and sealed. Krell stepped closer. You don't understand what you've done. This technology is dangerous. If it spreads, chaos will follow. Ben looked at him or freedom. He said. Krell said nothing more. He turned and walked away. By noon, the lab was empty. The Valari left one drone behind to monitor Ben's movements. It hovered outside his door, quiet but always watching. But Ben had planned for this. Long before the Valari arrived, he had sent full blueprints to trusted friends. Ella on Mars had the complete design. 2 more copies had gone to engineers on Luna and Titan. Even if the Valari took everything from this lab, they could not erase the truth. Across the solar system, new teams were already working. On Mars, Ella stood before a crowd of engineers and scientists. They were building the second fleet, this time. The ships were larger, with stronger drives and better control systems. They would not only jump, they would lead. Beside her stood Thalos, the CRE scientist. He had broad ideas from his own people, ways to improve the slip burst field. His knowledge helped them solve a major stability problem. The drives were now safer and more accurate. As the ships took shape, Elle received a private message from Ben. They took the lab, he said. I know, she replied. But they didn't stop anything. He added no. They didn't. She closed the message and returned to work. Not far from Earth, a human scout ship called Aerolite tested a new version of the drive. It jumped from Earth's orbit to the edge of Neptune, and back in under a minute, the data was sent to a group called Free Orbit, a loose alliance of human scientists and pilots who had decided to act on their own. Free Orbit had no leaders. It had no base. Its members worked in secret labs, moving between moons and asteroids, avoiding sensors and patrols. They knew the risks, but they also believed in the mission: freedom of movement, freedom to explore, freedom to grow. But the Valari had other plans. In a quiet meeting on their homeworld, Valari leaders approved the plan. They would place a blockade around Earth and Mars. No ships in or out without permission. All jump-capable vessels would be stopped or destroyed. The news spread quickly. On Earth, people protested. On Mars, engineers rushed to finish the jump ships before the blockade began. On Titan, the shipbuilders worked through the night. Ben sat alone in his room, the Valari drone still watching him. He opened a small device hidden in the wall and connected to a backup channel. A hologram appeared in front of him. It showed Ella, tired but focused. They're going to block Earth, he said. We know, she replied. How soon can you be ready? Ella turned the camera to show the bay behind her. For ships stood there, glowing with soft light. Workers moved around them, sealing panels and running tests. We jump in 3 days, she said. Ben nodded. Be careful. We will. That night, something unexpected happened across the galaxy on a world called Myr 7. A rebellion began. The Myrans, a peaceful farming race, had lived under Valari rule for centuries. But when they saw the human jump drive, they realized they could escape. They built a small ship using stolen designs and jumped to a free zone near Saturn. They sent a message: we are not your subjects. We choose our own path now. That message spread to other systems. On Vela Prime, a group of engineers walked out of their jobs and joined Free Orbit. On Kirill Station, a group of students hacked the communication tower and broadcast the human jump data to 5 nearby planets. The Valari were losing control. On the 4th day, the blockade began. Valari warships surrounded Earth and Mars. Every large station was watched. Every cargo ship was scanned. But Free Orbit had already jumped out from deep space. The new human fleet activated. They appeared near Jupiter, then disappeared again. They jumped to the edge of Valari territory, mapped a route, and vanished before the sensors could lock on. The Valari tried to chase them, but their ships were too slow. The human jumps were too fast, too unpredictable. Ben watched the reports from his hidden screen. He smiled for the first time in weeks. They had tried to silence him. They had taken his lab, his notes, and his machines, but they could not stop the idea. What started with one quiet engineer had become a wave, and the wave was rising. In the outer zone of the galaxy, where few dared to travel, a small ship dropped out of jump space. The ship, named Lighthouse, was built by human engineers, but carried passengers from 5 different species. It had no weapons, no army, and no flags. Still, It had something stronger than any of that. Hope. Inside the ship, a meeting was taking place. Ella stood at the front, pointing to a star map that covered the wall. Round her sat leaders and thinkers from many worlds. Beside her, Thalos adjusted a small device that helped translate the different languages. These systems, Ella said, pointing to 10 red circles on the map, have asked for support. They want freedom from the Velari Union. They want the jump technology. A tall woman with copper skin and short black hair stood up. Her name was Lena, a captain from Earth, and one of Free Orbit's best pilots. If we help them, the Velari will respond with force. Lena said, they won't let us grow. They are already watching us, Thalos replied. But they can't stop us. Not if we move fast and stay united. The room fell silent. Then one by one, the members nodded. The rebellion had begun. Over the next few weeks, Free Orbit launched missions to help planets in need. Small jump ships appeared on forgotten worlds, dropping supplies, tools, and engineers. On each planet, they shared the designs for the slip burst drive. They trained locals on how to build and maintain the systems. These were not invasions. These were gifts. On a frozen moon called Kelmer, miners who had lived under Velari rule for generations gathered in the open snow. A human ship landed, and a young woman stepped out. She brought heat generators, medical kits, and a new future. On a jungle world named Azera, rebel scientists built their own jump drive using only local tools. When it powered on for the first time, the people cheered. No one had come to control them. No one gave orders. Only knowledge. Each time the Velari sent ships to stop them, the rebels were already gone. Back on Outpost Theta, Ben followed every update. The Velari had not allowed him to leave, but they had stopped watching him closely. They believed the threat had passed. That was their mistake. Ben had continued working in secret. He kept a small terminal hidden behind the wall panel near his bed. From there, he ran simulations, tested new drive shapes, and even found a way to boost jump accuracy over longer distances. He saved all the files and sent them out using encrypted signals. One night, he received a message from Ella. More planets are joining us. The movement is growing faster than we expected. We need to form something real. What do you mean? Ben typed back, not just Free Orbit, something bigger. A new alliance. Ben stared at the screen for a long time. Then he replied, do it across Mars, Luna, and Titan. The idea spread. Scientists, engineers, and diplomats met in secure rooms and hidden bases. They talked about laws, rights, and goals. They argued and planned. And finally, they agreed. They formed the Free Systems Accord. It was not a government. It was not a military power. It was a promise. Any planet, colony, or station that joined the Accord would receive the jump technology freely. In return, they would protect each other from Velari control and share new discoveries. The symbol of the Accord was simple. A single star surrounded by 3 lines showing connection, movement, and light. The Velari Council was furious. At their main hall on the capital planet Valax, leaders from every part of their empire gathered. Krell stood at the front, holding a small data pad that showed a growing list of defecting systems. We must act now. One of the elders said, if we attack Earth directly, others may rise. Another warned. They already have, Krell said. The galaxy is shifting. We can't stop the spread of ideas, but we can stop the ones leading it. Krell was given command of a special fleet. His mission was clear. Find and capture Ella. Destroy the Free Systems Accord and the rebellion before it became something the Velari could not control. In deep space, Ella received news of the Velari fleet. Her ship, Starwake, jumped between 6 systems in one day, checking on new allies, updating shipyards, and delivering improved drive parts. But she knew it was only a matter of time before Krell found them. One night, she met with her crew. We can't run forever, she said. We need to fight. Captain Lena looked across the table. How? We don't have warships. Ella opened a file. It showed new ship designs, created by engineers from 3 different species. The ships were small, fast, and able to outjump anything the Velari had. "We don't need to destroy them," Ella said. "We just need to stop them from controlling others." Ben had also sent something new, a code that allowed jump ships to appear inside shielded zones without being blocked. It had never been tested, but it could be the key to their next step. On a quiet planet named Sarah, Free Orbit tested the first stealth jump into a Velari sensor field. The ship landed without alerting the defenses. They had done the impossible. The results were sent to every member of the Accord. The message was clear: "We are not afraid. We are not alone." The galaxy watched with new eyes. Some still feared the Velari. Others were waiting to see what came next. But more and more, they believed in the humans and their strange new drive. The rebellion was no longer a secret. It was a movement. And it was just getting started. The stars were quiet, but the galaxy was not. Across many systems, messages traveled faster than light, carried by human ships using the slip burst drive. Free Orbit's reach had grown beyond anything anyone expected. Ben sat in his small room on Outpost Theta. The Velari drone that had once watched him was gone. The station was quiet again, but Ben's mind was full of activity. Reports from across the solar system arrived every hour. Each message told the same story: humans were no longer isolated. Ships jumped from Mars to Titan. From Earth's orbit to the asteroid belts, they carried people, supplies, and hope. The Free Systems Accord was growing. Planets once quiet and forgotten now buzzed with engineers, scientists, and freedom fighters. On the mining world Draenor, miners who had long suffered under Velari rule were now building their own jump drives. A young man named Toma led the effort. His hands were rough, but his eyes shone with excitement. When the first ship made its jump, the entire colony celebrated. "We are free now," Toma said to the crowd. On another planet, Galathri, scientists worked with CRE engineers to improve the slip burst field. They found ways to make the jump more efficient, reducing the energy needed. The news spread quickly. Ben smiled as he read the reports. The spark he had started was becoming a fire. But he knew the Velari were not done yet. The Velari Union was losing control. Their great empire was built on order and rules. Humans had shattered that order with one breakthrough. Now the galaxy was changing. Krell, the Velari commander, led a new mission. This time, it was not just about stopping humans. It was about reclaiming control. The Velari fleet gathered near Jupiter, ready to strike. But the humans were ready, Free Orbit had built a fleet of fast ships, each equipped with the slip burst drive. They called it the Starfire Fleet. The ships were smaller and more agile than the Velari cruisers. They could jump quickly and appear where least expected. Ella commanded the fleet from the Starwake, a ship designed for speed and strategy. Her voice was calm but firm as she spoke to her captains. "We do not seek war," she said, "but we will defend our right to explore and to be free. If the Velari attack, we will fight, and we will win." The first battle began near the asteroid belt. Velari ships appeared suddenly, trying to trap a human supply convoy. The humans jumped in and out of battle zones, confusing the enemy. One by one, Velari ships were outmaneuvered. They could not predict where the humans would jump next. In the middle of the battle, Ben sent a message to Ella. "We have a new plan," he said, "a way to strike the Velari command ship directly." Ella studied the data. Ben had developed a way to jump inside the enemy's shield. A risky move, but one that could end the fight quickly. "We will try it," she said. The fleet gathered near Jupiter. The Velari command ship, a massive cruiser named Shadow Spire, waited. For the humans, it was heavily armed and shielded. Ella's plan was simple but dangerous. She and a small team would jump inside the command ship, not with weapons, but with proof. Proof that many Velari soldiers and officers had already joined the rebellion in secret. Proof that the Empire was crumbling from inside. The night before the attack, the crew of Starwake prepared. Some were nervous, but most were determined. The jump was executed perfectly. The Starwake vanished from space and appeared inside the Shadow Spire's main chamber. Velari officers gasped and drew weapons. But then the doors opened, and dozens of Velari rebels walked in, raising their hands in peace. The commander of Shadowspire was forced to listen. The message was clear. The Empire was no longer united. The Velari rebels demanded an end to the war. In negotiations with Free Orbit, for the first time in centuries, the Velari Council agreed to a truce. Ben watched the news from his room on Outpost Theta. The galaxy was no longer ruled by fear. It was ruled by ideas, hope, and courage across the stars. Statues of Velari conquerors were removed. New flags flew over cities and spaceports, and humanity was no longer seen as weak or primitive. They were the ones who had changed everything. The galaxy was watching. The Velari fleet gathered in silence near the outer edge of the solar system. Their goal was clear: to crush the human rebellion once and for all. The command ship, Shadowspire, led the armada, its dark hull shining cold against the stars. Inside the Velari war room, Krell stood before a glowing map. His eyes scanned every corner. For years, he had hunted the humans and their allies. He believed in the strength of the Velari Empire. He believed in order and control. But now, things were different. Prepare the fleet, Krell ordered. This battle will decide the future. On the other side, the Free Systems Accord was ready. Ella stood on the bridge of the Starwake, her face calm but determined. The Starfire fleet was smaller but faster. They had learned to use the slip burst. Drive better than anyone else? Ben watched the preparations from Outpost Theta. His heart was steady. He knew this moment would come. This was the test of everything he and Ella had worked for. Jump coordinates set. Lena reported from the navigation station. Ready when you are. Ella nodded. Hold nothing back. This is our home. We will fight for it. The fleet jumped into the battle zone. Stars shifted. Space bent. Ships appeared faster than light itself. The Velari fired first, their cannons lighting up the void. The Starfire fleet dodged with sudden jumps and rapid moves. They split the Velari forces, striking weak points in the enemy lines. In the chaos, Ella gave a bold order. We strike the command ship directly. The plan was dangerous. The Starwake would jump inside the Shadowspire's shield. The Velari would be caught by surprise. It was a risky move, but it might end the war quickly. Ben held his breath as the Starwake vanished from the fleet. Moments later, it reappeared inside the command ship's central chamber. Velari soldiers turned, weapons raised, but the humans had no weapons drawn. Instead, they showed proof that many Velari officers had already joined the rebellion. Proof that the Empire was breaking from within. The Velari soldiers hesitated. The rebellion was real. They had to choose. Krell entered the chamber, his face hard and unreadable. He looked at Ella. You think you can win with words? He asked. Ella replied calmly. We don't want to destroy you. We want peace. Krell paused. His eyes scanned the room. Then, unexpectedly, he lowered his weapon. This is not the end, he said quietly. But it is a beginning. Back in space, the Velari fleet hesitated. Confused by the events inside their command ship, their firepower slowed. The Starfire fleet took advantage, pushing forward and breaking their lines. The battle ended not with destruction, but with an agreement. The Velari would stop attacking. The Free Systems Accord would be recognized. The galaxy would have peace. In the following days, the news spread quickly, across many worlds. Statues of ancient Velari conquerors were taken down. New flags flew. New leaders appeared, chosen by people, not empires. Ben returned to his lab. The slip burst drive had changed everything, but he knew there was more to do. New challenges awaited. New mysteries in the stars. Ella took her place as a diplomat and leader. She worked with others to build a better future where all species could share knowledge and explore together. The galaxy had changed because one human dared to believe in what others said was impossible. They underestimated humanity, and humanity had won. The galaxy was no longer the same. The silence that once ruled the stars was replaced by new voices, new hopes, and new plans. The Free Systems Accord had changed everything. Planets once ruled by fear were now free to decide their own futures. The Valari Empire, once the greatest power in the galaxy, was learning to share. Ben stood on the bridge of the small research station where his journey began. Outpost Theta no longer felt empty. New machines hummed softly. Data streams from all corners of the solar system arrived every minute. Humans and aliens worked side by side, sharing discoveries and dreams. He looked out the window at the stars. Some were brighter now. Some carried ships traveling to places once forbidden. Ella's voice came over the comms. Ben, we have news. The Accord Council is meeting on Earth next week. They want you there. Ben smiled. The quiet engineer was no longer alone. The Accord Council was a new form of government created by the Free Systems Accord. It was not a traditional empire or dictatorship. It was a gathering of representatives from every planet, species, and colony that had joined the movement. They met to decide together how to protect freedom, share knowledge, and explore the unknown. When Ben arrived on Earth, he saw crowds gathered outside the city. People from many worlds walked the streets. Some wore colors and symbols from their home planets. Others carried gifts and technology to share. Music played. Children laughed. The future felt open. At the Accord Hall, Ben found Ella waiting. She smiled warmly. You did this, she said. You gave us the spark. Ben shook his head. We all did it, he replied. This was not just my work. It was everyone who believed in a better future. The meeting lasted for days. Representatives spoke about how to use the slip burst drive to connect the galaxy. They discussed building new research centers, sharing medical knowledge, and protecting smaller worlds from old threats. One of the representatives was Thalos, the CRE scientist who had joined the human cause early on. This is a new beginning, Thalos said, not just for humans, but for all species, together. We can reach stars no one dreamed possible. After the meeting, Ben and Ella walked outside. The night sky was full of stars. Ships moved silently between planets. Do you think the Valari will accept this new order? Ben asked. Ella looked at him. They have no choice. The galaxy has. Change of control by fear is over. Cooperation is the future. Ben nodded. He knew the road ahead would not be easy. Old fears, old wounds, and new challenges would appear. But for the first time, many species were ready to face the future together. Back on Outpost Theta, a new project had already begun. Ben was working on a device that could explore deeper into folded space. Beyond the slip burst, it was a mystery, waiting to be solved. Maybe, Ben thought, this is only the beginning. The galaxy was vast, full of secrets, and full of life. And humanity was ready to lead. They had proven their strength not by weapons or wars, but by ideas, courage, and unity. They had ignited a revolution. And the stars would never forget.